Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name's Nick, and in this video we're going to be comparing the Puma Velocity Nitro 2 and the Puma Deviate Nitro 2. So, the Velocity and the Deviate are two of Puma's Nitro range. They're both training focus shoes, but the Velocity is more cushioned option than the Deviate Nitro, which has a carbon composite plate in the midsole to be a bit more snappy and better for your faster training sessions. But actually there's a fair amount of overlap, as we'll go into in this video. In terms of the key stats, the Velocity is the cheaper shoe. It's £100 in the UK, $120 in the US. The Deviate is £140 in the UK, I think it's $160 in the US. They actually weigh a pretty similar amount. The Velocity is 271 grams or 9.55 ounces, whereas the Deviate is 276 grams or 9.7 ounces. So actually the Deviate is a slightly heavier shoe, despite being pitched as the kind of speedy training option there. That's both of those are in my UK size 9. The stack height is 36.5mm at the heel in the Deviate Nitro, and it's 28.5 at the forefoot for an 8mm drop, whereas the Velocity has a 10mm drop. It's 33.5 at the heel and 23.5 at the forefoot. Both have mesh uppers. There's a bit kind of thinner and less padded on the Deviate Nitro, although there is still a fair amount of padding around the heel there, and it's got these strips of power tape on the medial side and a little bit on there to create a bit more support and structure to the upper. Whereas the Velocity has a slightly more padded upper. It's thicker, it's generally a bit warmer certainly, and it's certainly more cushioned around the heel there. They both then have dual density midsoles with a top layer and a bottom layer of kind of Puma's different foams. So there's 3 foams at work here. In the Velocity Nitro, the top layer is Puma's Nitro foam, which is a nitrogen-infused TPEE foam, and then the bottom you've got their Pro Foam Light EVA foam, which is a pretty soft and lightweight foam, but the idea is you've got the softer bouncy layer on top and the slightly firmer, more stable EVA foam beneath it. Very similar principle going on with the Deviate Nitro. You've got the Nitro Elite foam on the top, which is a nitrogen-infused PEBA-based foam, so very soft, very bouncy. And then you've got Nitro foam on the bottom, which is the nitrogen-infused TPEE foam. So slightly firmer than the Nitro Elite. Again, creates a bit more stability. There's more of it at the heel in particular, but it does also run into the forefoot where it's kind of wrapped by the Nitro Elite foam. Also in the midsole of the Deviate Nitro, you've got a carbon composite plate. It's 70% carbon, 30% TPU, and then you can see it from beneath with this midsole cutout here. There's no such cutouts on the Velocity. It's got a full kind of outsole. And then speaking of outsoles, both of them have got fantastic outsoles. It's Puma Grip. We all love Puma Grip, right? It's fantastically grippy in wet conditions, works on light trails as well. Actually, with the Deviate Nitro, you're getting a little bit of Puma Grip ATR at the back, which is the kind of all-terrain Puma Grip, which is even hardier and grips better than the standard stuff, which is really saying something because, yeah, very grippy stuff. So like I say, they are both training focus shoes, really, but they very versatile options, and having used both of them a lot this year, I thought it'd be interesting to compare them and see how much overlap there really is. Comes to the fit of the two shoes, both are very good in my normal size. They fit me very well, true to size. The heel rub issues on the Deviate Nitro original have been solved with the Deviate Nitro 2, which is a lot more padding there and it holds the foot well. There's loads of padding on the Velocity. It's almost too padded. It can run a bit warm and it will kind of get a bit soaked with sweat or rain and take a while to dry. It's actually the same with the Deviate Nitro, but it's even more present in the Velocity because it's got even more padding there. But yeah, in terms of fit, they're both really nice, comfortable shoes that fit very well. So I was a big fan of the original Velocity Nitro, and I'm a big fan of the Velocity Nitro 2. I think it's just about my kind of favourite cushion shoe on the market because it's not overly cushioned. It's got a really nice balance of softness but bounciness and a little bit of ground feel there, despite being a very well cushioned shoe. Very versatile. I've used it for lots of kind of easy runs and progression runs. I've used it for a session as well, running kind of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 reps at probably like 10k pace, something like that. That's minute reps those are, with a minute off, and it really can do everything quite well. It's a very good general daily trainer with a really good outsole. That means you can take it off-road, down canal towpaths as well if you're doing your general training away from pavements, which is always quite a nice thing to do. I always say about the Velocity Nitro, in my training diary I always put like a little smiley face in there to say how I felt on the run, even if I wasn't hitting my targets. Was I feeling happy? And I'm always pretty happy in this shoe. It's really versatile. I've got a lovely ride. It's softer than the Deviate Nitro, I would say, which is a bit surprising considering it hasn't got the Nitro Elite foam in there, and it just delivers a nice amount of protection and comfort when you're running easy, and then a bit more bounce and kind of liveliness when you do want to up the pace. Now, a lot of that is true of the Deviate Nitro too, as well. Like it's a slightly firmer, stiffer, nippier ride to it, but that actually, it does dull it a little bit for me. Like you don't get so much kind of sinking and bounce as you get from the Velocity, in my opinion. It feels like a softer shoe, the Velocity, and it feels slightly more fun, but this is a bit more purposeful, more directed. And then when you do start hitting higher paces in it, you are starting to get the benefit of the plate, and you feel a bit more of the spring of that foam on top there. What I think is really great about the shoe is that it's so versatile. Like it's actually a bit heavier than the Velocity Nitro, but it doesn't really impact on its speed. I've taken it to the track, I've done hard workouts in it, on canal towpaths and stuff like that. It's another big string to its bow, is you can go and do your workouts and your general runs anywhere, because once again, it's got that fantastic outsole. Now, that does add a lot of weight, but you know, this is a training shoe, and having that weight doesn't matter too much if you can then use a shoe in more terrains if you do want to train off the pavements. Like I say, the ride is not the most explosive. Like of these kind of plated training shoes, you can get more nippy, exciting rides from the Endorphin Speed line, or kind of cheaper carbon plate shoes like the Decathlon Kip Run 900X, but it's a bit muted, but it is very reliable and comfortable, and it works at a good variety of paces. I'd say the Velocity is slightly more comfortable because I do think the foam is a bit softer, especially around the heel as a heel striker. Without the plate in there, but you lose probably a little bit of stability actually with the Velocity Nitro. So the plate does hold the ride on the Deviate Nitro 2 together and makes it a bit more directed, and probably give you a bit more stability. Neither are all-out stability shoes, and both of them used to have a plastic clip on the original version underneath the heel that's gone now, but I'd say neither are particularly unstable, but the Deviate Nitro probably does provide a bit more stability because of the plate in there. So yeah, okay, they're both daily trainers that really aim to be very versatile, both in the runs that they can do and the terrain you can do them on. Deviate Nitro 2 does lean a bit more towards speed with that stiffer plate in the midsole, whereas the Velocity leans a little bit more towards comfort, but there's a lot of overlap, like I say. So I think these are both really nice shoes that are available at a good price, that are very versatile training options, and probably a fairly nice option to pick up as a 1-2 punch, with the Velocity being more of your easy day shoe and the Deviate more for speedwear. But I think there's so much overlap, I don't think they'd be shoes I'll be picking up in tandem. I think I'd get one of these. Maybe if you're a one-shoe runner, I'd look at the Deviate Nitro just for that little bit of extra pop in speed sessions, and in a rotation, I think the Velocity fits a little bit better because you can use it for really almost everything, and then pair it with a speedier training shoe for your speed sessions, or a racing shoe. They can do the same with the Deviate, but I think it doesn't quite have the top end speed of a all-out speed shoe like a carbon racing shoe, or the best kind of fast training shoes like the Endorphin Speed. So, and then at the other end, it's not quite as comfortable as a fully cushioned shoe for your easy runs and long runs. So I think in a rotation, the Velocity makes a little bit more sense. It does just sit there as a great cushion option. You can use it for all your kind of training runs, do a bit of speed work in it, do lots of comfortable easy runs in it, and then transition to a faster shoe for your speed work and races. And it's a bit cheaper as well, which does make it a bit more accommodating to fit in a rotation. Whereas the Deviate Nitro, yeah, I think you might end up wanting a slightly more cushioned option for long runs in particular, and then you'd certainly want a speedier option for race day. It is pitched as a trainer racer, and it will do a good job of that if you are looking just for one shoe to do it all. But I think you can find better trainer racers like the Endorphin Speed, and it will lose a bit of the top end speed that you get from a carbon shoe. So yeah, I think they're both fantastic shoes, but I think the Velocity almost does undercut the Deviate Nitro a little bit because it's a lot cheaper, does a lot of the same things very well, and I probably prefer the ride a little bit. But yeah, without that plate, you lose a bit of the kind of force and speed and stiffness that you get from the Deviate Nitro too. So both worth considering. I'm still leaning the Velocity as the one that fits better into my rotation. That's it guys, that is our comparison of the Velocity Nitro 2 and the Deviate Nitro 2. Have you tried these shoes? What do you think of them? What do you think of Puma's output in general? Please let us know in the comments below. Do like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.